discipline Mr. Aram and Mr. Pulev for Mr. Aram's statements, which have brought discredit to boxing and to the CAC. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other members of the public who would like to address the commission on this matter and this motion? Please come forward. Seeing none others wishing to be recognized, before I call the vote on our motion, do we have any other questions or comments, commissioners? Yes, Commissioner?
We did see the comments by Mr. Aram, and for anybody who has been in the sport or is a fan of the sport or knows the sport, we unfortunately also understand that self-restraint, self-control, self-censorship, and media relations and the name Bob Aram aren't always synonymous. But unfortunately, we regulate combat sports in the context of professional competition, just like the state bar regulates lawyers who violate the professional code of conduct, and the medical board regulates doctors in the context of their profession, and dentists in the context of the dental board in the context of their profession, and so forth. We do not, unfortunately, get to regulate people 24/7, as it does start to infringe on constitutional rights and other rights and things like that. Having said that, these statements did come out in the middle of June, and if it makes you feel any better, Mr. Aram did participate in the sexual harassment, I call it the remediation class, that Mr. Barrett Morris held on July 3rd. And I did keep in pretty close contact with Mr. Morris throughout this time period, before and after. It was a 2-hour class, and I did give Mr. Morris all the information that he needed in terms of the things that these individuals did wrong, in terms of where he needed to focus, because it was my feeling that if you're going to do surgery, you might as well do it on the right limb, so that he could concentrate on the areas that needed fixing, so to speak. So Mr. Aram and the folks of Top Rank were present, as was Mr. Pulev and as was his management, because it has been always my opinion, not just with this incident, that if management promotion isn't responsible, and those are the folks that are supposed to be dealing with compliance, then you might as well just throw in the towel, so to speak. So, so Mr. Aram, I am told, did learn and did participate. So, having said that, as I said, we don't get to regulate 24/7, but he did participate in the remediation class.
And that item is not on our agenda.
Right.
Not to say that it couldn't be at a future meeting. Work with staff and certainly would consider anything appropriate. So I think that's time to call for the vote on this motion. Please do. You want to repeat the motion? Okay.
The pending motion is to lift the stay of suspension, reinstate the license on a conditional basis for the remainder of the license period. And that if Mr. Pulev were to violate the prior order, he'd be subject to possible suspension.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Harris.
Aye.
Commissioner Aiello.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Williams. Aye. Commissioner Senior Quitos.
Aye.
Vice Chair Lane.
Aye.
Chairman Corbett.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0, sir. Stage is lifted.
Agenda item number 5, discussion and possible action on a harassment prevention policy for licensees. Mr. Foster, would you please explain this to us?
Mr. Chairman, this was an item that Commissioner Senior Quidez brought, and I suspect this came from the last agenda item that we just addressed. Is how can we educate and inform so potential licensees don't have this problem in the future, or at least have knowledge. And Commissioner Senior Quidez has put together, with the help of Vice Chair Lehman and Councilor Swenson, a policy proposal for the license application, and then also one to put on the website along with a link to file a complaint. And Commissioner Senior Quidez is the author.
Well, I took, so Mr. Swenson provided the extensive DCA policy, not all of which is applicable to us because it has references to MOUs and it has references to the responsibilities of DCA, and anyway, not all of it is applicable to us. So what it did was I took the DCA's full policy and then I removed the references to the MOU and I removed the,
Commissioner, you're speaking about the Department of Consumer Affairs and Memorandum of Understanding.
sorry,
You're
yes.
speaking to the public.
Sorry, yes. And the things that were not applicable to this commission. And then split it into two portions. One, which is the shorter portion to be provided to the licensees with their application. Because I just didn't want to inundate with the paperwork and then provide a more comprehensive link to our website so they can read something more comprehensive. Along with the complaint procedure and the complaint forms and the privacy notifications, all on the website, along with our other forms and our other explanations. Following, of course, this general 7 key sections that you should have in any sexual harassment policy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, do you want to add something to this on this and review this extensively?
Sure, I'd like to thank Commissioner Shinukidis for all her hard work, and there were pages and pages of work and effort that this went through, and yeah, so it was a lot of work. And I guess to be clear is that technically we're under the DCA,
Department of Consumer Affairs.
Department of Consumer Affairs. We defined it earlier.
We will have
I never get to correct you though. So
So, you know, consider we were responsible under that policy as it is, but we thought it would be good to have our own policy or consider having our own policy, but most important, to disseminate the fact that we have a policy, and we do have a zero tolerance policy, and that is defined that you can get in trouble essentially even if you are not doing anything that's technically unlawful. So it's a pretty strict policy that we have. Yeah, so
are you
just
taking
think.
questions?
What do I?
Are you taking questions?
Am I taking questions?
From me? From
No.
anyone?
Yeah, so I guess I would say that this is, you know, as attorneys, this is very complicated and it's long and the law is constantly changing on what defines it. So I think this is at least a detailed policy would need to be vetted by DCA.
Yes. So whatever we decide today would have to be conditional because it has to go through the approval process for the Department of Consumer Affairs.
Are you requesting that the commission approve this policy for review by the department? Is that what the request is?
Yes.
I would also recommend that the executive officer be authorized to make non-substantive changes to the policy from any kind of feedback that the
Are the authors okay with that?
Yes.
Yes, I agree. And I'd also like to just keep in mind that we keep track that we have two aspects. We have the full-on policy, and then we have like the one page that we're proposing to include with the licensee's application, either on the application itself or separate. So those are two things. Perhaps DCA doesn't want one, but we could have the other. But I feel, and I think Commissioner Shinyukidas feels it's important to have some statement on our licensee applications about our policy and our zero tolerance. So those are two separate issues when you start negotiating with DCA.
The statement would be perhaps what's here.
This one, the
The
first
whole-
one.
first page?
Whole first page.
Okay.
So it's a shorter definition, the purpose, the definition, and then the
Apply to.
complaint, policy, procedure, and then the link. Because, you know, our application is so comprehensive and kind of long and et
Right.
cetera, but the applicability, because they're not employees, they're licensees, but there has to be something in there. And then the link to the much longer, you know, with our regs and things on our website.
Matt, I have a couple of questions for the subcommittee, well, I'll forget them if you don't mind.
Sure.
So the first one is there somewhere going to be a statement that if you are found to be in violation of this policy, here are the consequences?
Yes, it's in here.
It's in the full-on policy.
It's in the full-on policy, they would refer back to the policy.
Consequences, violations.
And just so the public knows, these documents are available to the public on our commission website as far as our materials for the meeting today.
And the arbiter of